I began my campaign here in Pittsburgh, saying I was running to rebuild the backbone of America.
When presidents need to sell a big plan to the public, they love to do it in Pittsburgh.
And today, I return as your president to lay out the vision of how I believe we do that, rebuild the backbone of America.
The city is often a stand-in for an America on the rebound. That usually means white America. Pittsburgh has been named one of the most livable cities, but for Black residents, quality of life is the worst in the country. The city said so itself in a 2019 report that found that Black residents in Pittsburgh face higher rates of things like life-threatening diseases, homicides, and poverty than those in nearly any other city.
I always tell people Pittsburgh introduced me to in-your-face racism.
Jasiri X moved from Chicago to a Pittsburgh suburb as a teenager. He's now CEO of One Hood Media, one of the city's biggest activist groups.
What do you think are some of the main issues for Black people in the city?
Institutionalized racism that exists in Pittsburgh, you have policing. It's all of these things that come with it. So when you look at policing in Pittsburgh, how different it is for a Black person, white person.
In 2020, Black residents made up 65% of arrests, although they're only 23% of the city's population. And the national movement that began after George Floyd's death has made policing the central issue of the upcoming mayoral election.
My name is Ed Gainey. I'm running for mayor. Well, what's up, man? How y'all, man? Love to have y'all vote, man.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother, good.
You are.
Ed Gainey is a Pennsylvania state representative who grew up in Pittsburgh, and now he wants to become his hometown's first Black mayor.
This neighborhood right here, this is where my family grew up at, my mom and them, when my mom was young. This is how I know a lot of people in the Hill District. I'm running for mayor now, but love to have your support in this upcoming mayor's race.
Gainey may be the first viable Black challenger to incumbent Mayor Bill Peduto, who is seeking his third and final term. Both Democratic candidates are running in a primary, and there are no Republican candidates. While Gainey is trailing Mayor Peduto in fundraising, he's raised about 4 times more than any previous Black candidate that has run against Peduto.
How do you think last year and the moment around social justice is impacting local politics like a race like this?
Last year, we had a great opportunity to embrace justice. When they were walking in the streets because of what happened to George Floyd, that's the first time I seen Pittsburgh coming together. I think that people are hungry for change. They want to see a change of action. They don't see that right now.
Gainey and Mayor Peduto actually agree on reimagining police force tactics and creating some policing alternatives. But Gainey says Peduto has already proved he's unfit to help Black people living here. And his old campaign ads showed off a city that didn't seem to need to change at all.
Mr. President, you say you'll make America great again. Well, Pittsburgh has defined greatness.
That's Peduto in 2017. And this year, he sounded a little different.
People say we're one of the most livable cities, but the question is, for who? For too long, we've had a white Pittsburgh and a Black Pittsburgh, and I've worked hard to change that.
You've been in office for 30 years. Majority as a council person, 8 as a mayor. And it's just come to the realization that we have a tale of two cities. That's the new revelation now.
Why do you think he changed his tone a bit this year?
Because I'm running. It's because I'm running.
We saw it last summer. We saw it in the streets. We saw voices speaking up about systemic racism that has existed for decades and centuries and hasn't been addressed.
How are you feeling? It's like your
I got good energy.
Final hurrah, right?
Yeah.
Some of your critics might say that during this campaign, the fact that you're addressing the fact that there's 2 Pittsburghs and racial disparities has something to do with the fact that there is a Black candidate that is gaining a lot of steam potentially. What would you say to those people?
In both my campaigns in 2013 and 2017, I had Black men running against me. The Black community has been one of my strongest bases. There are new so-called activists that have never walked foot in a Black neighborhood in the city of Pittsburgh. They're college students or young adults who have decided that they're the ambassador between me and the Black community that I've worked for and with for 30 years of my life.
Did last year's social justice movement had anything to do with this change in messaging?
Of course it did.
Mayor Peduto and the Pittsburgh Police Department have been hit with 2 lawsuits stemming from protests last June. Peduto's name has been dropped from 1 and he's seeking dismissal from the other. But in both, the city is accused of violently escalating peaceful protests. Later that summer, plainclothes officers put a protester in an unmarked van. Although Peduto condemned the arrest, protesters marched to his house that week, demanding his resignation.
If protesters are coming to your house and saying, we look to you to guide us or to change whatever we feel is wrong with policing, is that a fair assessment for them to come to their mayor?
A lot of people who are looking for more strict rules on how policing should be conducted within our cities and are blaming the mayors do not recognize or understand that those rules are being passed in our state houses and that our state representatives refuse to change them.
What do you think about the police department's response last year to the protests?
Well, I have to be careful because we are in a federal lawsuit on this issue. But I have yet to hear what the response should have been. What I do hear is it was peaceful and there wasn't a need for the police to do anything, when that's not true. The vast majority, almost all of them were. But within there were those who were there to cause violence. So when the police responded, people were shocked. But actions have consequences. And you cannot have anarchy and violence in cities.
Defund the police! Refund people's peace! Defund the police! Refund my people's peace!
He was somebody that when the protests began in 2020, that I thought would be able to have that same relationship, but I don't know what happened between then and now, but it completely changed. And he became somebody that did not want to engage with activists like myself, did not want to, to listen to folks.
What do you think about this moment that has kind of propelled Ed Gainey to the forefront of this race?
It's interesting because I think it's like Ed is here because of the inability of Bill Peduto to handle like the issues of 2020. To me, he gave way. He opened the door for somebody like Ed Gainey to come and challenge him. When I tell people, he's the most viable black candidate that we've had. It's like Bill Peduto tripped so Ed Gainey could run.